Let's travel back to a time before the Cops sang its anthems, before the red shirts became legend, to the very beginning of Liverpool Football Club's story. In the spring of 1892, a disagreement would give birth to one of football's greatest institutions. Everton Football Club had been playing their matches at Anfield, a ground owned by a businessman named John Holding. But tensions grew between Holding and the Everton committee over rent and commercial interests, and by March of that year, Everton decided to leave Anfield behind, moving to a new ground at Goodison Park, just across Stanley Park. John Holding found himself with an empty stadium and no team to play in it. Rather than accept defeat, he made a decision that would echo through football history. On the 15th of March, 1892, Holding founded a new club. He wanted to call it Everton Football Club and Athletic Grounds Limited, but the Football Association wouldn't allow it, as Everton already existed. And so, the club took the name of the city itself, Liverpool Football Club. The newly formed club needed players, and they needed them quickly. Holding and his colleagues set about recruiting, bringing in a mix of Scottish players who would form the backbone of that first squad. The team's first captain was a man named Andrew Hannah, a Scottish defender who had previously played for Everton. In those early days, Liverpool wore blue and white quartered shirts, not the famous red we know today. The red wouldn't come until 1896, when the club adopted the colour that would become synonymous with their identity. Liverpool's first ever match took place on the 1st of September, 1892, a friendly against Rotherham Town. They won that match 7-1 at Anfield, a promising start for the new club. But this was just a warm-up. Liverpool applied to join the Football League, the top tier of English football, but they were rejected. Instead, they were admitted to the Lancashire League, a regional competition that would serve as their proving ground. Their first competitive match came on the 3rd of September, 1892, against Higher Walton in the Lancashire League. Liverpool won 8-0, with striker Malcolm McVean scoring 4 goals. The club was finding its feet, and finding them quickly. They dominated the Lancashire League that first season, winning every single one of their 22 matches and scoring 106 goals while conceding just 32. Their top scorer that season was Malcolm McVean with 27 goals, establishing Liverpool as a force to be reckoned with even at this lower level. This perfect season earned Liverpool the reward they sought, election to the Football League Second Division for the 1893-94 season. The club was climbing, just 1 year after its formation. In their first Football League season, Liverpool again showed their quality, winning the Second Division title and earning promotion to the First Division after just 2 years of existence. Their rise had been meteoric, from a club born out of a dispute to first-tier football in the span of 24 months. As Liverpool prepared to take their place among England's elite, Anfield began to take shape as a proper football ground. The famous Spion Kop Terrace, which would become the heart and soul of the club, was built in 1906. It took its name from a famous battle in the Second Boer War, the Battle of Spion Kop, where many local men from Liverpool had fought. The steep terrace would eventually hold over 28,000 standing supporters, creating an atmosphere that visiting teams would come to fear and Liverpool fans would cherish for generations. As the 20th century dawned, Liverpool Football Club was still finding its identity among England's football elite. The First Division was a challenging landscape, filled with established clubs and fierce competition. Liverpool's early years in the top flight were marked by steady progress, but it would take some time before they would taste true glory. That moment arrived in the 1900-2001 season, when Liverpool won their first Football League championship. It was their 7th season in the First Division, and the title was secured with a remarkable consistency throughout the campaign. The team finished 2 points clear of Sunderland, establishing Liverpool as genuine champions of English football for the very first time. The club had come a long way in less than a decade. Just 5 years later, in 1906, Liverpool claimed their second league championship. This title was particularly special because it coincided with the construction of the Spy on Kop, which had just been completed. The faithful supporters on that great terrace witnessed their team lift the trophy in only the Kop's first season of existence, creating a bond between stand and team that would endure for over a century. The man who guided Liverpool to these early successes was their first great manager, Tom Watson. Watson had taken charge in 1896 and would remain at the helm until 1915, spanning nearly 2 decades. Under his guidance, Liverpool won 3 league championships in total, with the third coming in 1922, though Watson had sadly passed away before seeing that final triumph. He established the foundations upon which Liverpool's winning culture would be built. In 1914, Liverpool moved into their modern era when they were drawn to play Burnley in the FA Cup final. This was Liverpool's first ever appearance in the final of English football's most prestigious knockout competition. The match took place at Crystal Palace in London on April 25, 1914, just months before the world would be plunged into war. Unfortunately for Liverpool, they lost that final 1-0 to Burnley, their first taste of Wembley heartbreak, though the stadium at the time was not yet the famous Wembley we know today. The First World War interrupted football, as it interrupted everything, and when competitive matches resumed, Liverpool found themselves rebuilding. But the club's ambition remained undimmed. In 1922, they won their 4th league championship, showing that even through the disruption of war, the club's winning mentality persisted. This title was won under the management of David Ashworth, who had taken over after Watson's passing. The 1920s saw Liverpool continue to compete at the highest level, and in 1923, they reached the FA Cup final for the second time in their history. This final was particularly historic as it was the first FA Cup final to be played at the newly built Wembley Stadium. On April 28, 1923, Liverpool faced Bolton Wanderers in what became known as the White Horse Final, so called because of a white police horse that helped control the crowds that had spilled onto the pitch before kickoff. Over 126,000 people were officially in attendance, though many more had forced their way in. Liverpool, unfortunately, lost 2-0, their second FA Cup final defeat. The club's fortunes in cup competitions would have to wait, but Liverpool remained a force in league football. In 1947, after the interruption of the Second World War, Liverpool won their 5th league championship under the management of George Kay. This post-war triumph showed that Liverpool could adapt and succeed even in the changed landscape of English football. The 1946-47 season saw them crowned champions, bringing silverware back to Anfield after a 24-year wait. As the 1950s approached, Liverpool experienced something they had never known before: decline. In 1954, the unthinkable happened. Liverpool were relegated to the second division for the first time since their promotion in 1896. It was a devastating blow for a club with such a proud history. The fans who packed the Kop couldn't quite believe what was happening to their beloved team. Liverpool languished in the second division for 8 long seasons. The club that had won 5 league championships found itself playing in front of smaller crowds against lesser opposition. Frustration grew among the supporters, but little did they know that salvation was just around the corner, arriving in the form of a Scottish manager with an unshakable belief in attacking football and an ability to inspire that bordered on the mystical. On the 14th of December, 1959, Liverpool appointed Bill Shankly as their manager. Shankly had been managing Huddersfield Town, but he saw something special in Liverpool, even in their diminished state. He arrived at Anfield and immediately set about transforming not just the team, but the entire culture of the football club. Shankly famously declared that he wanted to build Liverpool into a bastion of invincibility, and those weren't empty words. He cleared out players he felt didn't have the right mentality and began rebuilding from the ground up. Shankly's first major task was to get Liverpool promoted back to the first division where they belonged. It took him 3 seasons, but in 1961-62, Liverpool finally won the second division title with 62 points from 42 games, scoring 99 goals in the process. They were going home to the top flight, and this time, they would stay there for decades. The fans on the Kop, who had remained loyal through those difficult years, were rewarded for their faith. Back in the first division, shankless Liverpool didn't just survive, they thrived. In the 1963-64 season, just 2 years after promotion, Liverpool won the league championship for the 6th time in their history. It had been 17 years since their last title, but now they were back at the summit of English football. Shankly had assembled a team built on solid defending and fast, attacking play, with players like Ron Yates, Ian St. John, and Roger Hunt leading the charge. The following season brought even more joy to Anfield. Liverpool won their first ever FA Cup, finally conquering the competition that had eluded them in 1914 and 1923. The 1965 FA Cup final took place on the 1st of May at Wembley Stadium, with Liverpool facing Leeds United. It was a tense, hard-fought match that went into extra time, but Ian St. John scored the winning goal with a header in the 93rd minute, securing a 2-1 victory. The famous Scottish forward had written his name into Liverpool folklore. Just a year later, in 1966, Liverpool won the league championship for the 7th time, their second title in 3 seasons. Shankless methods were proving devastatingly effective. He had created a team built on unity, work ethic, and an attacking philosophy that thrilled supporters. More than that, he had created a connection between the team and the fans that went beyond ordinary support. Shankly famously said that football wasn't a matter of life and death, it was much more important than that. As the 1960s drew to a close, Liverpool set their sights on European competition. They had qualified for the European Cup, the most prestigious club competition in world football, and in the 1964-65 season, they reached the semi-finals before being knocked out by Inter Milan. It was a learning experience, a taste of what European football demanded, and it only increased the club's hunger for continental success. In 1973, Liverpool won the league championship for the 8th time and also won the UEFA Cup, their first European trophy. The UEFA Cup final was played over 2 legs against Borussia Mönchengladbach, one of Germany's strongest sides. Liverpool won 3-0 at Anfield in the first leg, with 2 goals from Kevin Keegan, and though they lost the second leg 2-0 in Germany, they had done enough. The trophy was coming to Merseyside, and Liverpool had announced themselves as a European force. The following year, 1974, brought one of the most emotional moments in Liverpool's history. Bill Shankly, the man who had rescued the club from the second division and turned them into champions, announced his retirement. He had been at Anfield for 15 years, winning 3 league championships, 2 FA Cups, and the UEFA Cup. But more than the trophies, Shankly had transformed Liverpool's identity. He had made them believe they could conquer anything, and he had forged an unbreakable bond between the club and its supporters. The Kop sang his name, and grown men wept. When Bill Shankly retired, Liverpool faced a question that had undone many great clubs. How do you replace a legend? The answer, as it turned out, was already within the walls of Anfield. Bob Paisley, Shankless' assistant and a man who had been at Liverpool since 1939, first as a player and then as a coach, was promoted to manager. Paisley was quiet where Shankly had been charismatic, understated where Shankly had been bold, but he possessed a deep understanding of football and an eye for talent that would prove to be every bit as transformative. Paisley's first season, 1974-75, ended without a trophy, but it was merely the calm before the storm. In his second season, 1975-76, Liverpool won both the league championship and the UEFA Cup, their second European trophy. The league title was their 9th overall, and it marked the beginning of what would become the most dominant period in English football history. Paisley had inherited Shankless' great team and was already making it his own. The 1976-77 season brought something that Liverpool had never achieved before, the European Cup. Liverpool had been building towards this moment for over a decade, gaining experience in European competition, learning the rhythms and demands of continental football. Now, they were ready. They progressed through the rounds with a mixture of steel and style, defeating teams like Saint-Étienne in a memorable quarter-final that saw Liverpool come back from 3-1 down on aggregate to win 3-2 at Anfield in one of the most electric nights the old stadium had ever witnessed. The final took place on the 25th of May, 1977, in Rome's Stadio Olimpico. Liverpool faced Borussia Mönchengladbach, the same German side they had beaten in the UEFA Cup final 4 years earlier. The match was tense, evenly poised, but Liverpool's quality eventually shone through. Terry McDermott opened the scoring, then Tommy Smith, the long-serving defender and captain on the night, headed in a second. Phil Neal added a penalty to make it 3-1, and though Mönchengladbach pulled one back, Liverpool held on. They were champions of Europe, the first time in the club's 85-year history. Liverpool also won the league championship that season, their 10th title, completing a historic double. But Bob Paisley wasn't finished. The following season, 1977-78, Liverpool retained the European Cup, becoming only the second English club to defend the trophy. The final was played at Wembley Stadium, and Liverpool faced Club Brugge of Belgium. Kenny Dalglish, the Scottish forward who had been signed from Celtic to replace Kevin Keegan, scored the only goal of the match in the 64th minute, delicately chipping the ball over the goalkeeper. Liverpool were European champions for the second consecutive year. The league title came again in 1978-79, Liverpool's 11th championship, and then again in 1979-80, their 12th. Paisley's Liverpool were relentless, a machine built on intelligent defending, creative midfield play, and clinical finishing. They played with a fluidity and understanding that made difficult football look effortless. Players like Graham Souness, Alan Hansen, and Ray Clements formed the spine of a team that simply refused to stop winning. In 1981, Liverpool reached the European Cup final for the third time in 5 years. The final was held in Paris at the Parc des Princes, and Liverpool faced Real Madrid, the most successful club in European Cup history. It was a meeting of football royalty, past and present. Alan Kennedy, the left-back, scored the only goal of the match in the 82nd minute, and Liverpool had won their third European Cup. Bob Paisley had achieved something no other British manager had done. He had won the European Cup 3 times. The following season, 1981-82, Liverpool won the league championship for the 13th time, and they also won the League Cup, defeating Tottenham Hotspur 3-1 in the final after extra time. It was a period of such sustained success that winning trophies almost seemed routine, though of course, it never truly was. Every trophy required dedication, sacrifice, and the collective effort of players who understood what it meant to wear the red shirt of Liverpool. In 1983, Liverpool won the league championship for the 14th time and also retained the League Cup, beating Manchester United 2-1 in the final. It was Bob Paisley's final season as manager, and what a way to conclude his reign. In 9 years as Liverpool manager, Paisley had won 6 league championships, 3 European Cups, 1 UEFA Cup, 3 League Cups, and numerous other honours. He had taken Shankly's legacy and built upon it, creating a dynasty that dominated not just England, but Europe. When he retired, he did so as the most decorated manager in English football history, and the Anfield faithful knew they had witnessed something truly special. When Bob Paisley stepped down, Liverpool once again promoted from within, maintaining the continuity that had served them so well. Joe Fagan, who had been part of the famous Boot Room coaching staff, took over as manager in 1983. The Boot Room was a small room at Anfield where the coaching staff would gather, drink tea, and discuss football. It was unpretentious and unglamorous, but from that modest space came some of the greatest tactical minds in English football. Joe Fagan's first season, 1983-84, would prove to be one of the most remarkable in Liverpool's history. Liverpool won the league championship for the 15th time, securing the title with consistent, dominant performances throughout the campaign. They also won the League Cup for the fourth consecutive year, defeating Everton 1-0 in a Merseyside derby final at Wembley. But the crowning achievement of that season was still to come. Liverpool reached the European Cup final for the fourth time, and it would be held at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, the same venue where they had won their first European Cup 7 years earlier. Their opponents were AS Roma, playing in their home stadium, with 60,000 passionate Italian supporters creating an intimidating atmosphere. The match finished 1-1 after extra time, with Phil Neal scoring for Liverpool and Roberto Pruzzo equalizing for Roma. The trophy would be decided by penalty kicks. The penalty shootout was agonizing, nerve-shredding, as these things always are. Both teams scored their first 2 penalties, but then Bruno Conti missed for Roma. Liverpool had the advantage, but then Alan Kennedy, the hero of the 1981 final, saw his penalty saved. The score was level at 2-2 after 4 penalties each. Then Francesco Graziani stepped up for Roma and blazed his penalty over the crossbar. Alan Kennedy took Liverpool's 5th penalty, and this time he made no mistake. Liverpool had won their 4th European Cup, and Joe Fagan had achieved something unprecedented, winning 3 major trophies in his first season as a manager, including the European Cup. It was an unprecedented treble. The following season, 1984-85, began with such promise. Liverpool were competing on all fronts once again, chasing more honours. But football and life can change in an instant, and on the 29th of May, 1985, tragedy struck at the Heysel Stadium in Brussels. Liverpool were playing Juventus in the European Cup final, but before the match even began, a wall collapsed after crowd trouble, resulting in the deaths of 39 people, mostly Italian Juventus supporters. It was a disaster that shocked the world and brought immense shame and sorrow to Liverpool Football Club. The match went ahead in chaotic circumstances, with Juventus winning 1-0, but the result was utterly irrelevant. Lives had been lost, families destroyed. In the aftermath of Heysel, English clubs were banned from European competition indefinitely. Liverpool, as the club involved in the tragedy, faced the weight of collective grief and guilt. The club and its supporters had to reckon with what had happened, to mourn, and to change. It was the darkest period in Liverpool's history, a moment when football's tribal passions had led to unspeakable tragedy. In 1986, Liverpool appointed Kenny Dalglish as player-manager. Dalglish, affectionately known as King Kenny, had been Liverpool's greatest player of the modern era, a forward of sublime skill who had won everything there was to win with the club. Now he would lead from the dugout while still playing on the pitch. In his first season, 1985-86, Dalglish guided Liverpool to the League Championship and FA Cup double, their 16th league title and second FA Cup. Liverpool defeated Everton 3-1 in the FA Cup final, the first all-Merseyside final in history, with Ian Rush scoring twice. The championship came down to the final day of the season, with Liverpool needing to beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Dalglish himself scored the winning goal in a 1-0 victory, a moment of pure poetry as the player-manager secured the title with his own boot. It was a remarkable achievement, especially given the shadow that still hung over the club from Heysel. Liverpool won the league championship again in 1987-88, their 17th title, and again in 1989-90, their 18th. They were dominant domestically, even without European football. But the late 1980s would bring another tragedy, one that would scar Liverpool and English football forever. On the 15th of April, 1989, Liverpool travelled to Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield to play Nottingham Forest in an FA Cup semi-final. Due to police failures and stadium safety issues, a crush occurred in the Leppings Lane terrace, resulting in the deaths of 97 Liverpool supporters, including men, women, and children who had simply gone to watch their team play football. The disaster devastated Liverpool, the city, and the families who lost loved ones. Kenny Dalglish attended funeral after funeral, supporting the grieving families with quiet dignity. The psychological toll on him and everyone connected with the club was immense. Liverpool supporters and the families of the victims would spend decades fighting for justice, battling against lies and cover-ups, seeking the truth about what happened that terrible day. The Hillsborough tragedy became a defining moment in the club's history, a wound that would take generations to heal. In February 1991, Kenny Dalglish resigned as Liverpool manager. The strain of Hillsborough, combined with the pressures of managing one of the world's biggest clubs, had taken its toll. Dalglish had given everything to Liverpool as a player and as a manager, and now he needed to step away for his own well-being. It marked the end of an era, and Liverpool would soon discover that replacing the Bootroom dynasty would not be easy. Graham Souness, the former Liverpool captain who had been so instrumental in the club's success during the 1980s, returned from managing Rangers to take charge at Anfield. Souness had been a ferocious competitor as a player, a midfielder who combined elegance with steel, but his time as Liverpool manager would prove challenging. He won the FA Cup in 1992, defeating Sunderland 2-0 in the final with goals from Michael Thomas and Ian Rush, giving Liverpool their fifth FA Cup triumph. However, the league title that Liverpool had won so regularly in the previous 2 decades now seemed to slip further from reach. The English top flight was changing, becoming the Premier League in 1992, with new money and new ambitions flooding into the game. Liverpool, while still a major force, were no longer the dominant team they had been. Souness left in 1994, and Roy Evans, another Bootroom graduate, took over as manager. Under Roy Evans, Liverpool played attractive, attacking football and came agonizingly close to winning the Premier League title in the 1995-96 season. They were nicknamed the Spice Boys by the media, a reference to their perceived flash and style, and while they had talented players like Robbie Fowler, Steve McManaman, and Jamie Redknapp, they ultimately finished third, behind Manchester United and Newcastle. The near-miss felt like a missed opportunity, and the wait for a league title continued. In 1998, Liverpool appointed Gerard Houllier as joint manager alongside Roy Evans, an unusual arrangement that reflected the club's uncertainty about direction. By November of that year, Evans had resigned, leaving Houllier in sole charge. The French manager brought a more European approach to Liverpool, emphasizing organization, discipline, and squad rotation. It would take time, but Houllier would restore Liverpool to trophy-winning ways. The 2000-2001 season became one of the most memorable in Liverpool's recent history, though not for a league title. Liverpool won an unprecedented cup treble, claiming the League Cup, FA Cup, and UEFA Cup all in the same season. The League Cup final saw them defeat Birmingham City on penalties after a 1-1 draw. The FA Cup final was a dramatic affair against Arsenal, with Liverpool coming from 1-0 down to win 2-1, with Michael Owen scoring 2 late goals, including an incredible solo strike in the 88th minute. The UEFA Cup final took place in Dortmund, Germany, against the Spanish side Alaves. It was an extraordinary match, one of the most entertaining finals in the competition's history. The game finished 5-4 to Liverpool after extra time, with Delphi Jelly scoring an own goal in the 117th minute to give Liverpool their 3rd European trophy. It had been a golden goal, meaning the match ended immediately. Liverpool had won 3 trophies in one season, a remarkable achievement even if the league title remained elusive. In 2003, Liverpool won the League Cup again under Houllier, defeating Manchester United 2-0 in the final in Cardiff. But Houlliers' reign was coming to an end, and in 2004, Liverpool made a bold appointment that would change the trajectory of the club once more. They hired Rafael Benitez, a Spanish manager who had just won La Liga and the UEFA Cup with Valencia. Benitez was a tactical mastermind, known for his meticulous preparation and his ability to succeed in European competition. Benitez's first season, 2004 to 2005, would give Liverpool one of the greatest nights in their history, a night that would become legend, whispered about with reverence and disbelief. Liverpool reached the Champions League final, held in Istanbul at the Ataturk Olympic Stadium. Their opponents were AC Milan, one of the strongest teams in Europe, boasting world-class players like Paolo Maldini, Andrea Pirlo, and Andriy Shevchenko. The final began disastrously for Liverpool. Milan scored within the first minute through Maldini, and by halftime, Liverpool were 3-0 down, with Hernan Crespo scoring twice. The game seemed over, the trophy already heading to Milan. But something extraordinary happened in the second half. Steven Gerrard, Liverpool's captain and talisman, scored with a header in the 54th minute, giving Liverpool a glimmer of hope. 2 minutes later, Vladimir Smicer made it 3-2. Then, in the 60th minute, Liverpool won a penalty, and Xabi Alonso converted the rebound after his initial spot kick was saved. It was 3-3. Liverpool had come back from the dead, completing one of the most remarkable comebacks in football history. The match went to extra time, then to penalties. Jerzy Dudek, Liverpool's goalkeeper, made crucial saves, and Liverpool won the shootout 3-2. They were champions of Europe for the 5th time, and Istanbul would forever be known simply as that night, the miracle of Istanbul. The victory in Istanbul cemented Rafael Benitez's place in Liverpool folklore, but he wasn't finished adding to the club's trophy cabinet. In 2006, Liverpool won the FA Cup for the 6th time, and it was another final that would be remembered for drama and resilience. Liverpool faced West Ham United at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, and the match became known as the Gerrard Final because of Steven Gerrard's heroics. Liverpool found themselves 3-2 down with normal time running out, heading for a disappointing defeat. Then, in the 91st minute, Steven Gerrard struck a thunderous shot from 35 yards that crashed into the net, forcing extra time. The match went to penalties, and Liverpool prevailed 3-1 in the shootout. Gerrard had carried his team to victory through sheer force of will, just as he had done in Istanbul a year earlier. He was becoming one of Liverpool's all-time greats, a one-club man in an era when such loyalty was increasingly rare. In 2007, Liverpool reached the Champions League final for the second time in 3 years, an achievement that demonstrated their status as European royalty. The final was held in Athens, and Liverpool faced AC Milan once again, a rematch of the Istanbul miracle. This time, however, there would be no comeback. Milan won 2-1, with Filippo Inzaghi scoring both goals for the Italian side. It was heartbreak for Liverpool, but reaching 2 Champions League finals in 3 seasons showed the quality that Benitez had built at Anfield. The 2008-2009 season saw Liverpool come closer to winning the league title than they had in years. They finished second in the Premier League with 86 points, their highest points total in the Premier League era at that time, but Manchester United finished with 90 points to claim the title. Liverpool had won 25 of their 38 matches and lost only 2 games all season, but it wasn't quite enough. The wait for a league title, which had begun in 1990, continued into a third decade. Benitez left Liverpool in 2010, and the club entered a period of transition and struggle. Roy Hodgson was appointed manager, but his tenure lasted less than 6 months as results deteriorated. In January 2011, Liverpool brought back a familiar face. Kenny Dalglish returned as manager for a second spell. Dalglish steadied the ship, and in 2012, Liverpool won the League Cup for the 8th time, defeating Cardiff City on penalties after a 2-2 draw. It was Liverpool's first trophy in 6 years. Later that same year, 2012, Liverpool reached the FA Cup final, facing Chelsea at Wembley. The match finished 2-1 to Chelsea, with Didier Drogba scoring the winner. Despite the cup's success, Dalglish was controversially sacked at the end of the season, with the club sitting 8th in the league. Brendan Rodgers, who had impressed at Swansea City, was appointed as the new manager, bringing a philosophy of possession-based, attacking football. The 2013-14 season under Rodgers saw Liverpool produce some of their most thrilling football in years. With Luis Suarez and Daniel Sturridge forming a devastating strike partnership, and Steven Gerrard orchestrating from midfield, Liverpool scored 101 goals in the league and looked certain to win their first title in 24 years. They were top of the table heading into the final weeks of the season, playing with a freedom and confidence that had been missing for years. But then came the cruelest blow. On April 27, 2014, Liverpool faced Chelsea at Anfield, needing to avoid defeat to maintain their title charge. Steven Gerrard, the captain who had given everything to the club for over 15 years, slipped on the pitch while receiving a pass, allowing Demba Ba to run through and score for Chelsea. Liverpool lost 2-0, and their title hopes were effectively ended. The following week, Liverpool drew 3-3 with Crystal Palace after leading 3-0, mathematically ending their chances. They finished second, 2 points behind Manchester City. The pain of that near miss, and particularly Gerrard's slip, was almost unbearable for Liverpool supporters who had waited so long. Rodgers was dismissed in October 2015, and Liverpool turned to Jurgen Klopp, the charismatic German manager who had won 2 Bundesliga titles with Borussia Dortmund. Klopp arrived at Anfield promising heavy metal football, a high-intensity, pressing style that would demand total commitment from his players. He spoke about turning Liverpool from doubters into believers, and from the very beginning, there was a sense that something special could happen under his leadership. The Kop embraced him immediately, sensing that here was a manager who understood what Liverpool meant, who felt the emotional weight of the club's history and was ready to add to it. Jurgen Klopp's first seasons at Liverpool were about building, about instilling his philosophy and reshaping the squad. There were moments of brilliance mixed with inconsistency, as the team learned his demanding system. But in cup competitions, Liverpool began to show their potential. In Klopp's first season, 2015-16, Liverpool reached both the League Cup final and the Europa League final, though they lost both matches. The hunger was there, but the final step remained elusive. The following season, 2016-17, saw Liverpool finish 4th in the Premier League, securing Champions League qualification. It was progress, and Klopp was assembling the pieces he needed. He signed Mohamed Salah from Roma in the summer of 2017, a transfer that would prove to be transformative. Salah, the Egyptian winger, would become one of the most prolific goalscorers in Liverpool's history, forming a devastating front three alongside Sadio Mane and Roberto Firmino. The 2017-18 season was when Liverpool truly announced themselves under Klopp. They reached the Champions League final, their 8th European Cup final, held at the NSC Olimpijski Stadium in Kiev, Ukraine. Their opponents were Real Madrid, the defending champions and the most successful club in European Cup history. The match was marked by controversy and heartbreak. Mohamed Salah was forced off injured in the first half after a challenge from Sergio Ramos, and Liverpool's goalkeeper Loris Karius made 2 costly errors that gifted Real Madrid goals. Liverpool lost 3-1, and the pain was immense, particularly for Karius, who received death threats and needed counseling to recover from the trauma of that night. But Klopp learned from defeat. That summer, he signed Alisson Becker, a world-class goalkeeper from Roma, and Virgil van Dijk, who had joined in January 2018 from Southampton, had already transformed Liverpool's defence. Van Dijk brought leadership, composure, and quality that made Liverpool one of the best defensive teams in Europe. The pieces were finally in place for something extraordinary. The 2018-19 season saw Liverpool produce one of the greatest campaigns in English football history. In the Premier League, they accumulated 97 points, losing only one match all season. They won 30 of their 38 games, a phenomenal achievement. But Manchester City, their rivals, won 98 points, finishing just 1 point ahead of Liverpool. It was devastating to play so magnificently and still not win the title, but Liverpool's season was far from over. In the Champions League, Liverpool had navigated their way through to the semi-finals, where they faced Barcelona. The first leg, at the Camp Nou, ended in a 3-0 defeat, with Lionel Messi scoring twice. Liverpool's hopes of reaching another final seemed shattered, but Klopp told his players before the second leg at Anfield that they needed to believe in the impossible. What happened on the 7th of May, 2019, was exactly that, impossible made possible. Anfield that night was electric, the atmosphere crackling with desperate hope. Liverpool scored early through Divock Origi, then Jorginho Wijnaldum came off the bench to score twice in 2 minutes, making it 3-0 on the night and 3-3 on aggregate. Then, in the 79th minute, Trent Alexander-Arnold took a quick corner kick while Barcelona's defenders weren't paying attention, and Divock Origi scored again. It was 4-0. Liverpool had completed one of the greatest comebacks in football history, rivaling even Istanbul. The fans sang "You'll Never Walk Alone" with tears streaming down their faces. The Champions League final was held in Madrid on the 1st of June, 2019, and Liverpool faced Tottenham Hotspur in an all-English final. The match was tense and tactical, decided by goals from Mohamed Salah in the second minute from a penalty and Divock Origi late in the match. Liverpool won 2-0, claiming their 6th European Cup, their second Champions League trophy in the modern era. Jurgen Klopp had delivered on his promise, and the 30-year wait to reclaim Europe's greatest prize was over. The celebrations in Liverpool that night were extraordinary. Hundreds of thousands of supporters lined the streets as the team paraded the trophy through the city. The joy was unconfined, years of near misses and heartbreak finally released in one glorious moment. But Klopp and his players weren't satisfied. They had tasted glory, and now they wanted more. The Premier League title, the one trophy that had eluded Liverpool since 1990, was next in their sights, and after coming so close with 97 points, they were determined to go one better. The 2019-20 season began with Liverpool as European champions, and they started the Premier League campaign with an intensity and focus that was relentless. They won match after match, building an unassailable lead at the top of the table. By December 2019, Liverpool had won the FIFA Club World Cup in Qatar, defeating Flamengo 1-0 in extra time with a goal from Roberto Firmino. It was their first Club World Cup trophy, making them world champions for the first time in the club's history. Back in the Premier League, Liverpool's dominance continued. They went unbeaten for their first 27 matches of the season, winning 26 and drawing just once. The football they played was mesmerizing, high pressing, rapid transitions, and clinical finishing. Players like Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson, the fullbacks, were creating chances from wide positions, while the front three of Salah, Mane, and Firmino terrorized defenses. Jordan Henderson, the captain, led by example in midfield, driving the team forward. In March 2020, the world changed. The COVID-19 pandemic forced football to stop, and the Premier League was suspended with Liverpool just 2 wins away from securing the title. There were fears that the season might be declared null and void, denying Liverpool the championship they had worked so hard for. The wait was agonizing for supporters, but eventually, the league resumed in June 2020 without fans in stadiums. On the 25th of June, 2020, Liverpool secured the Premier League title when Manchester City lost 2-1 to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Liverpool hadn't even played that day, but the result meant they were mathematically uncatchable at the top of the table. After 30 years of waiting, of near misses and heartbreak, Liverpool were champions of England once again. It was their 19th league title overall, their first Premier League trophy, and it came with 7 games still to spare, such was their dominance. The following night, Liverpool played Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium, and City gave them a guard of honour, applauding the new champions onto the pitch. Liverpool won the match 4-0, a statement victory. When Liverpool finally received the Premier League trophy at Anfield on the 22nd of July after their last home game of the season against Chelsea, the stadium was empty due to COVID restrictions, but the city of Liverpool celebrated regardless. Fireworks lit up the night sky, and fans gathered outside Anfield to sing and rejoice. Liverpool finished that season with 99 points, just 1 point shy of Manchester City's record of 100. They had won 32 of their 38 matches, losing only 3 times. They had been the best team in England by a considerable margin, and Jurgen Klopp had delivered the trophy that mattered most to Liverpool supporters. The wait was finally over, and the joy was profound. The 2020-21 season proved more challenging. Injuries ravaged Liverpool's squad, with Virgil van Dijk suffering a serious knee injury in October that ruled him out for the rest of the season. Joe Gomez and Joel Matip also suffered long-term injuries, forcing Liverpool to field makeshift centre-back pairings. Despite these setbacks, Liverpool finished third in the Premier League, securing Champions League qualification on the final day of the season. The 2021-22 season saw Liverpool return to their best. They competed on all 4 fronts: the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, and League Cup. In February 2022, Liverpool won the League Cup for a record 9th time, defeating Chelsea on penalties after a 0-0 draw at Wembley. It was the beginning of what Liverpool hoped would be an unprecedented quadruple. In May 2022, Liverpool won the FA Cup for the 7th time, again defeating Chelsea on penalties after another 0-0 draw at Wembley. Liverpool had now won both domestic cups, and they were still competing for the Premier League and Champions League. The quadruple dream was alive. However, in the Premier League, despite winning their final 14 matches of the season, Liverpool finished second to Manchester City by just 1 point, 92 points to 93. It was another agonizing near-miss in the title race, the 3rd time under Klopp that Liverpool had accumulated over 90 points and not won the league. The Champions League final took place on the 28th of May, 2022, in Paris at the Stade de France. Liverpool faced Real Madrid for the 3rd time in a European Cup final. The match was delayed by over 30 minutes due to organizational chaos outside the stadium, with Liverpool fans being tear-gassed by French police in scenes that sparked international outrage. When the match finally began, Liverpool dominated possession but couldn't break through Real Madrid's defense. Vinicius Jr. scored the only goal of the match in the 59th minute, and Real Madrid won 1-0. Liverpool had won 2 trophies but lost the 2 biggest prizes on the final day of the season and in the final week. The pain of coming so close to history was immense. The 2022-23 season proved to be one of transition and difficulty for Liverpool. The midfield, which had served the team so magnificently for years, was aging and losing its dynamism. Jordan Henderson, James Milner, and Fabinho, stalwarts of Liverpool's success, were no longer able to dominate matches as they once had. Liverpool struggled for consistency, and despite some promising moments, they finished 5th in the Premier League, missing out on Champions League qualification for the first time since 2016. It was clear that Liverpool needed to rebuild, particularly in midfield. In the summer of 2023, the club embarked on a significant overhaul, signing Alexis Mac Allister from Brighton, Dominik Szoboszlai from RB Leipzig, Wataru Endo from Stuttgart, and Ryan Gravenberch from Bayern Munich. It was one of the most extensive midfield reconstructions in the club's modern history, signaling a new era as Liverpool adapted to changing circumstances. The end of an era was also marked by departures. In the summer of 2023, both Jordan Henderson and Fabinho left Liverpool for lucrative moves to Saudi Arabia, bringing an end to their time at Anfield. Henderson, in particular, had been captain during the Premier League triumph and the Champions League victory in 2019, and his departure represented the closing of a significant chapter in the club's history. In January 2024, Jurgen Klopp made a stunning announcement that shocked the football world. He revealed that he would leave Liverpool at the end of the 2023-24 season, citing exhaustion and a need to recharge after nearly 9 years of intense work at the club. Klopp had transformed Liverpool from a club searching for identity into European and English champions, and his departure would mark the end of one of the most successful eras in the club's history. The news was met with sadness but also gratitude from Liverpool supporters who recognized what he had achieved. The 2023-24 season became Klopp's farewell tour, and Liverpool were determined to send him out on a high. In February 2024, Liverpool won the League Cup for a record 10th time, defeating Chelsea 1-0 in extra time at Wembley with a goal from Virgil van Dijk. It was a fitting tribute to Klopp, giving him one more trophy before his departure, and it showed that even in transition, Liverpool remained capable of winning silverware. Liverpool also mounted a serious challenge for the Premier League title in Klopp's final season, staying in contention deep into the spring. However, they ultimately couldn't maintain the pace, and the title went to another club. Still, Liverpool qualified for the Champions League, ensuring that whoever succeeded Klopp would have the platform to compete at the highest level. In May 2024, Liverpool announced that Arne Slot, the Dutch manager who had impressed with Feyenoord, would become their new head coach. Slot brought a modern, possession-based philosophy and had won the Eredivisie title with Feyenoord. His appointment represented Liverpool's faith in continuity and progressive football, even as they said goodbye to the beloved Klopp. Arne Slot's first season at Liverpool, 2024-25, proved to be a remarkable success, dispelling any doubts about life after Klopp. Slot brought a calmer, more measured approach to management, but his football was no less effective. Liverpool adapted to his possession-based system with impressive speed, and the results spoke for themselves. The team showed resilience and consistency throughout the season and demonstrating that the transition from one great manager to another could be seamless, culminating with their 20th English League title. Under Slot's guidance, Liverpool also impressed in European competition, showing that they remained a force to be reckoned with on the continent. The new manager had inherited a strong squad and added his own tactical innovations, creating a blend of Klopp's intensity with a more controlled, methodical approach. Mohamed Salah continued to score goals with remarkable consistency, while the young talent in the squad flourished under Slot's coaching. It was a season that proved Liverpool's winning culture transcended any single individual, that the club's greatness was built on foundations strong enough to endure any change. As Liverpool look to the future, they do so with a rich history behind them. From the founding by John Holding in 1892, through the glories of Shankly and Paisley, the tragedies of Heysale and Hillsborough, the long wait for the Premier League title, and the triumphant Klopp era, Liverpool Football Club has experienced the full spectrum of human emotion. They have won 20 English League titles, 6 European Cups, 7 FA Cups, and 10 League Cups, establishing themselves as one of the most successful clubs in football history. The club's anthem, "You'll Never Walk Alone," sung before every home match at Anfield, encapsulates the spirit of Liverpool Football Club. It's a song about hope in the face of adversity, about solidarity and community, about walking through storms with your head held high. For over 130 years, Liverpool supporters have walked alongside their team, through triumph and tragedy, never wavering in their loyalty. And so, as we reach the end of this journey through Liverpool's history, we remember that football clubs are more than just teams. They are communities, families, repositories of memory and emotion. Liverpool Football Club belongs to everyone who has ever sung on the Kop, to every player who has worn the red shirt with pride, to every manager who has tried to add to the trophy cabinet, and to every supporter around the world who feels that connection to Anfield. The history continues to be written, season by season, match by match, and the story of Liverpool Football Club will endure as long as football is played. Rest well, and dream of red shirts and European nights, of comeback victories and championship glory, of legends past and heroes yet to come. You'll never walk alone.